I talk, you listen. Welcome to my one-man panel of madness. Hey everyone, this is Dr. Giahu, and I really hope you are staying safe and making the best of this situation, which is what we should be doing. Even though we can't go out and play, we can't do things, there's plenty of things you could be doing at home right now, like listening to this or other interesting stuff. Anywho, so we just had another a great global watch. This time we were watching the 12th Hour, which is Matt Smith's first outing as the 11th Doctor. And I've said this plenty of times before, and I say it again, because it's not like I'm ashamed of it. It's like a process of learning to let go of guilt. And so when this episode first aired, I remember watching it thinking, I hate Matt Smith. He is not the Doctor. He is too young, and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, 10 episodes later, I fell in love with him, and great, Vincent and the Doctor, awesome episode. And now, but when I see it more after I had that sort of realization and change of mind, I really do enjoy the 11th Hour, and especially the scene where, he comes and says his first words, I'm the Doctor, and to this day, it looks like every time there's a vote on the best sort of introduction of a new Doctor, the 11th Hour always gets number one. And because it is that, that crowning moment where an actor firmly states, I'm the Doctor. But specifically, Matt Smith just has that kind of weird, wonky face with his big chin that it's funny. It's actually a funny scene. But what I like about it the most is that they show all the previous Doctors leading up to, the 11th. Now, of course, after the events of Series 12, I don't know if you could ever really, really do that again with it making sense, because you'd have to go all the way back, right, to when we don't even know how far back the Doctor's lifespan goes anyway. So it's one of those moments now that would be treasured, because anytime the Doctor needs to, refer to herself or himself or themselves as the Doctor, it's like, okay, well, where do we start? But anyways, it was fun. Again, we had Stephen Moffat, Karen Gillan. We had, let's see, who else was on there? I can't remember his name now. Arthur Darvill, sorry. So it was fun watching. One of the funny things, though, was when they were looking at Amy's, in Amy's bedroom when she's young, and it's actually young little Caitlin playing Amy Pond, and the Doctor's looking at the crack. Arthur Darvill tweets, hey, look at Amy's crack. And of course, she writes back, enough of that. I thought that was a kind of cute little moment of banter. But it was also the story that they produced. I would believe it was produced by Emily Cook, I think is her name, who puts all these things together. They produced a little segment about Amy and the Doctor, and ultimately ending with her realization that the only monster she doesn't, know, or the only person she doesn't consider a monster is Rory. I thought it was cute. I'm amazed how fast and the turnaround for these little special things that they're doing for us are. I think it was just a matter of 3 or 4 days they were able to put that together. They even got Caitlin to come back and do the narration for that little special. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is on YouTube. But yeah, that was kind of fun. There's another one coming up with the Doctor's wife, another one of my favorite episodes, because we get to see the TARDIS alive and speaking and having her moment and go at the Doctor, So I really, really enjoyed that episode. So the other thing was a really nice story that was released around the same time. I forgot his first name, but I know his last name, I think, is Teague. And he wrote for the current series 12. So he wrote this really nice story about Susan leaving the Doctor a message in times when she's alone and sad. It's a great little story. I don't want to ruin it for you, but you got to go read it. It just has that total, I don't know. Ever since Peter Capaldi brought up the idea of bringing Susan back, and even in the opening of Series 10 with the pilot, and you see a picture of her on his desk, I've always wanted to see Susan come back, because it's one of those characters that almost every other character has made some kind of comeback in some way. But, besides Big Finish, I'm not I'm putting Big Finish aside, but I'm talking on screen. It would be awesome to see Susan. And I've had people ask questions like, well, why hasn't Susan regenerated? Why is it always the same image of her? And, it'd be great. I would hope that at some point, somewhere along the line, somebody produces an episode where they either bring Susan back as Carol Ann Ford, or sorry, played by Carol Ann Ford, or having an episode where we find Susan, but now she is regenerated into another character, and we find out that her name was not Susan, right? As I kind of figured. I don't think that, I don't know. I have a whole theory about Susan not being Susan and not being the Doctor's granddaughter, but that she had a more perhaps sinister reason for being on the TARDIS, like a spy to keep the Doctor in line after they, brainwashed him to forget his previous lives. So that was pretty cool, and I really enjoyed it. And there was a really awesome artist. I don't know if I should say his full name, but anyways, his name is Jeff, and you can find his work on Facebook and Twitter. And he did a really beautiful image that goes along with the story. Okay, I'll tell you really fast. So anyway, Susan appears in one of this kind of holographic imagery with the little mist that was introduced in Series 12. And, there's a little more deeper story to it, but he just did a really nice artwork of that, which just made it a lot more emotional, at least for me. Because I like Susan, and I think it'd be cool to bring her back in some way. But the message she leaves the Doctor just was really, really, really nice. So, we may be stuck at home, but we've got a lot of cool stuff coming in, and I think that's what's really good about this time, is that we actually have the time to enjoy it. It's not just we're, consuming it and not pausing to actually enjoy it. And I think we do that a lot, not just with food, but with our own media entertainment. We just consume, but never actually stop to think about it and enjoy it and say, you know what, this is a really good story. So I've been very excited with all the little things that all the different personalities within Doctor Who have offered. Everyone from Stephen Moffat, Russell T, the cast, getting Matt Smith to go ahead and jump in on Twitter. I think those are really cool things that we're experiencing right now, and I'm very grateful for them, as I'm sure a lot of people are. I see a lot of the tweets of people saying that, this is helping their children and themselves get through a lot of this tough times. So it's awesome. Again, sci-fi prevailing, bringing good to the people. So that's all I have this week. I have another segment coming up talking about some new Jedi designs that were recently released, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So, all right, keep listening.